The government is already planning to double the earnings tax on superannuation balances above $3 million. A headline in the Treasury document talks about building on that reform.
What Mr Albanese has to explain to the Australian people is what those higher taxes are.
The detail suggests Treasury favours lower taxes for individuals and companies and changing parts of the indirect tax system of excises, stamp duty and the GST. In housing, the new minister is advised to use migration and the skills system to boost the construction workforce and leverage grants to states and territories to make them build more homes.
Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Connie. If you're new here, you're very much welcome. Australia has a housing crisis, a productivity crisis, a labour shortages in key industry, aged care, construction, health and education. But there's one more thing again Australia has, that is broken migration system that keeps keeping these skilled migrants on the outside. Even after you've trained here, there's no guarantee that you will still be able to work in the same profession that you were trained in Australia. And I don't think increasing labour supply will solve the problem if they're not really looking what's happening within Australia itself. The housing labour contradiction, it's a very the serious one, because the Labour government promised 1.2 million houses if it win the election in the next 5 years. 2 million houses to build 1.2 million houses in the next 5 years. But then you can ask yourself, who will build those houses? You know, who work in the nursing home? Who will stock in the hospital? The answer they have is migrants. But the very same system is locking migrants out. The very same system. So after I completed my intern, I went to a couple of interviews and a lot of them were asking me, have I worked independently? Have I worked unsupervised? I said no. I was an intern. That's not allowed. And just like that, the door was shut. I had followed every rule, paid every fee, completed every placement. Now I was penalized for following the law. And this is the same story that I hear all the time. If in our mentoring session, in my, professional leadership program, it's the same story I hear a lot from same problem, other professions, the same thing. Electrician, they need Australian experience. Nurses need local clinical hours. Even if they work in trauma wards overseas or in ICU, they still need clinical hours in Australia. Construction workers, they wait months for licensing. The licensing, they already held at home. All while Australia cries out for labour. There is huge systemic barriers within Australia itself, which leads me to think this isn't a skill shortage. Australia has enough labour already. We had record immigration. The problem is recognition shortage. Australia It just built its fortress on really significant red tape, local only references, supervised only experiences, the opaque licensing pathways, English tests, again, even for English speaking professionals, English test. My goodness. What needs to change? If Australia is really serious about housing, about care and productivity, it must be serious about valuing the people they bring to Australia, the people they bring here. We must value them. That means letting these internship and supervised hours to count as a valid experience, speeding up overseas qualification recognition, funding bridging pathways with real pay as well. Because you cannot fix housing crisis when you allow builders and construction workers to work as Ubers because they're waiting for their license. That can't, you're just going to have more and more people in the country and straining the housing. Already have people struggling to find a rental property. In Adelaide alone, in my city, that vacancy for rental, it's about 0.6%. Normally, you'd like rental vacancy when it's a healthy, where there's a balance between supply and demand, it's around 3%, about 3%. Anything below 3%, it actually means that there is more people looking for houses than there are available properties. In Adelaide, South Australia, 0.6%. In most cities, it's around 1%. Capital cities, it's around 1%. And they're very expensive, not affordable. People live in crowded homes. Some are couch surfing. Some cannot find properties. They have to move on and live with other family members until they find one affordable properties elsewhere. That's not a healthy. That's not a healthy country. And like I said, you're going to lose skilled migrants. What they're going to move and move elsewhere because housing is fundamental for a lot of things. You need to have a housing and feel like you're stable and if you're a family so that your kids can go to the school and you can live there and rent for a little while and check the place out, then later decide if you want to live there and buy a house there and settle there if you're migrants. It's always like that. You don't just walk in and just buy the houses. People will do that usually. The people wants to pack the money in a safe country. They're not going to be skilled and working because they've already rich people anyway. They're not going to be wanting to go and work in aged care, you know, or in disability support, and they just wouldn't want to do that. Those type of people, they're not going to be helpful. They've got money, but they're not going to be helpful in where you need to provide services and need workers to do so. So yeah, it's these workers you need. And for example, if you're South African, you move to Australia and you don't, yeah, you need to lower your expectation around housing. If you're South African, you listen to me now, you need to lower expectation around housing. I mean, even people who live in townships, their houses, they're much bigger, some of them, than some of the houses they're getting sold now in Australia around, the space and what are you able to get. So you need to really lower your expectation and realize that if, you'll be struggling to find appropriate priced home that will be suitable for your budget and you're likely to be moving from one house to another and be moving short accommodation situation which is not healthy if you have family have kids young kids want to be stable. um, it's really not a good environment but they need workers but they don't have houses. But you know what? The workers, they do have workers inside Australia, but they're not using the skill force they have around these red tapes, around this enormous expectation they put towards migrants that are not good, not reasonable, cannot be achieved. There's not even enough support for them because they're new in the country, so that they can familiarize themselves with the system once they get in. Uh, and that is this high expectation they have that leads to a lot of them not wanting even to work in the same profession and decide, you know what, I'll rather go and just be working in disability anyway with my nursing skills. I don't care. Uh, that is the issue that you're going to have because you're not fixing the pathway and support they receive when they get the job or when they're training. There are other issues around training, the training and support around training that migrants are offered. There's huge disparity and differences there that I've seen around migrants and Australian graduates in the same profession around the training. That was what's another barrier they have. So it's a huge systemic discrimination and there are huge systemic barriers that they're not addressing. So you're not going to address it by bringing more people. There's already more people. You've got no housing, no house already. So if this recommendations saying that Australian government should increase uh, supply of labor, how are they going to do that? How are they going to do that? They're not going to. They can't do it by bringing more people. Where are those people going to live? Already we have the housing shortage already. So how are they going to do that? If they don't, they need to fix what's already inside, what's broken inside. The issue is not migration, the issue is around credentialing and people support around the workplace and having people skilled workforce and so on. That is the problem they have, and they haven't fixed it. And I don't think they even realize that's the problem because they're asking the wrong people. The people they ask are not the people who are migrants. If you ask migrants, like myself, as I'm telling you, the problem is within the support, education, and training, and also the workplace support they receive. For you to end up with a good, capable workforce and skilled workforce. If you fix that system there, already given an example, how can you ask an intern pharmacist that they have their work unsupervised? Are you serious? What? That would be unlawful to do so. You see how this expectation is unreasonable expectation for migrants. That so no, there's enough workers already. We'll fix system inside the credentialing, the supervision, and the support they receive at work. You'll find that you already have enough labor. All right, thank you guys for listening. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Until next time, see ya.